Welcome to the MPP Hoot, where we give you a recap of last week's news on everything education. According to a statement released on Friday, on May 11th, the nonprofit edtech provider, Battelle for Kids, notified Chicago Public Schools that it was the victim of a ransomware attack on December 1st that compromised the data from 495,448 students and 56,138 staff members. The compromised data included students' names, birthdays, genders, grade levels, schools, district and state identification numbers, information about courses taken, and performance task evaluation scores, which were used from 2015 to 2019. Thus far, the data hasn't been misused, posted, or distributed, according to an email statement from Battelle for Kids. According to the statement, no social security numbers, financial records, health data, course grades, class schedules, or home addresses were compromised. According to Doug Levin, National Director of K-12 Security Information Exchange, over the past 2 months, 2 of the nation's 5 largest school districts have experienced a data breach like this one. This data breach has thus far also compromised data from several other districts in Ohio. Battelle for Kids has notified all the districts that were affected, but didn't specify the names or number of districts. As schools rely on technology more and more, there are higher risks for data breaches, particularly in our move to remote learning after COVID-19 reared its head. Battelle for Kids told Chicago Public Schools that they delayed telling them about the breach for almost 6 months because they needed to confirm that the attack was authentic through analysis and law enforcement involvement. However, Chicago Public Schools, in their contract, requires the vendor to make immediate contact in regards to any type of data breach. Currently, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are investigating the incident. In Lansing, Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer introduced the My Kids Back on Track, an initiative to expand tutoring and various educational supports throughout the state. This plan would invest $280 million of Michigan's $3 billion in additional revenue to reverse learning losses after the last few years with tutoring or other types of individualized instruction. This initiative aims to help students catch up and get back on track in school, and ultimately should help them regain their footing for long-term success. Schools in Michigan have already received federal resources from the American Rescue Plan. The initiative would build upon this funding with state resources in order to reinforce the tutor programs. For 3 years now, Governor Whitmer has worked to make the largest educational investments in Michigan history while avoiding raising the taxes. Since she's come into office, she's tripled the number of literacy coaches. Just last year, she signed an educational budget closing the funding gap between schools and raising per-student investment to an all-time high. Whitmer's education budget proposal for this year includes the highest per-student investment ever, $1 billion for school construction and renovation, funds to hire and retain 15,000 teachers, and various resources for on-campus and mental health support. On Thursday, Massachusetts lawmakers officially vindicated Elizabeth Johnson, who 329 years ago was convicted of witchcraft in 1693 and sentenced to death during the Salem witch trials. Although Johnson was never executed, she also was never officially pardoned, like the others who were wrongly accused of witchcraft. In 1692, during an outburst of Puritan injustice, hundreds of people were accused. 20 people were killed and 19 were hanged. When Johnson got caught up in the witch trials and was sentenced to be hanged, she was only 22. The hanging never occurred, and Governor William Phips ended up removing her punishment when it was evident that there had been a huge magnitude of gross miscarriages of justice in Salem. Then, in the next 3+ centuries, suspects were officially cleared, including Elizabeth Johnson's mother. For unknown reasons, Johnson's name wasn't ever cleared, and unlike others who were wrongfully convicted, she never had children, and so she had no one to speak or act on her behalf. Last year, an 8th grade civics class at North Andover Middle School took it upon themselves to research her cause and legislative steps necessary to clear Johnson's name. State Senator Diana DiZoglio then introduced legislation and approved a budget bill. In a statement, a teacher in North Andover, Carrie LaPierre, praised the young students for taking on the neglected justice issue for the wrongly convicted Elizabeth Johnson. According to the Witches of Massachusetts Bay, a group dedicated to the history of the witch trials, Johnson is the last accused witch to be cleared. In Michigan, hundreds of students at Oxford High School walked out of class on Thursday and formed a U on the football field in support of students and families in Uvalde, Texas. This is the high school that experienced a shooting that killed 4 in November. Oxford school officials were aware of the planned walkout and worked to make sure students were safe. Spokeswoman Danielle Stublansky said that the walkout was part of a national effort by a group calling for changes in gun laws. Students demand action. Across Cedar City, Utah, students celebrated their right to wear cultural regalia at graduation. A year ago, students in the district weren't able to wear any type of tribal decorations with their traditional caps and gowns. But in March, Utah joined a growing list of states that's protecting Native American students' rights to wear their tribal regalia at their ceremonies. In the U.S., students frequently wear flower leis or fun sashes, usually with little to no criticism. However, rules around tribal regalia at high school graduations have come out as legislative issues in several states, both red and blue. This has been made clear by the continual reports of students being banned from sporting their decorations. Recently, Arizona, California, Kansas, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Washington either put laws into effect protecting students' rights to wear their regalia or banned schools from enforcing dress codes that ban tribal regalia. Moreover, a bill with similar provisions has been proposed to Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy. States including Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Chicago have faced incidents where graduates are banned from wearing their tribal regalia. These incidents not only prevent students from honoring their cultures, but pit students and their parents against administrators who claim they want to maintain uniformity. On Thursday, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said that he's ashamed that the U.S. is becoming desensitized to the murdering of children, and that to prevent more lives from being lost in school shootings, like the one in Texas, immediate action is necessary. 2 days after the school shooting, Cardona spoke at a House Education and Labor Committee hearing. Committee Chairman Bobby Scott opened the hearing with a moment of silence in memory of those lost in the shooting. Although the hearing was initially on the Education Department's budget and priorities, Cardona opened by addressing the recent shooting in Texas. He looked back on the actions educators have taken in response to past school shootings, such as active shooter drills, online early detection tools, and more secure buildings. But he made it clear that these actions aren't enough. While he didn't provide any specifics, he emphasized that people in positions like his need to use all their influence and power to prevent. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode.